Welcome back to PH.d TV, and today we'll be going over, the table. Welcome back to PH.d TV, and today we'll be going over the best chest exercises for the gym. Okay, so the first thing that you need to know about working chest in the gym is that the chest does have three heads to work off of. You do have the upper clavicular head, and you have the middle sternal head, and the lower abdominal head, basically being the upper, the middle, and the lower chest. And with each of those muscle groups in the chest area, there are specific exercises that can really work towards that better chest through specific exercises. And with each of these exercises, there are some that do specifically target parts of the chest and ones that also completely work parts of them jointly together. Also, a great thing about all this is that with chest workouts, typically that's a great way to hit the triceps as well, not directly, but that is also a great way to promote those as well. But we're gonna stick with chest today. And ultimately, we really just wanna have a really banging chest just because we wanna look like Henry Cavill when we're 30 and we wanna look like Hugh Jackman when we're 50, yeah? Okay, so the first thing that we have is actually an honorable mention, and that is push-ups. The reason that it's an honorable mention is primarily because you don't need a gym to do it, but push-ups is easily one of the best chest exercises you can do in general. And you can't go wrong with them. It's just that simple. You can do them anywhere. And ultimately, going to our first one, that is bench press. A push-up is even basically, in short, it's basically just an upside down bench press. So I mean, it's kind of in a tie with our number one. All right, so the bench press. We all know what bench press is. That's the first thing we ever learn in any gym or weightlifting class. You start with the bench press. And of course, and you basically know the full fundamental of a bench press. You lay back on a flat bench and you grab the bar and you begin to do the whole motion. Now, what's great about this is that it hits every single head of your pectoral because it is all that weight in the main areas. Now, that is why it is known as to be the best chest exercise, because it is one of the few that actually hits every single pectoral muscle head in one motion. But it does predominantly hit that middle chest, which does make up most of the chest's weight. And now, of course, I know that some people do have injuries ahead of time going into the gym, whether it be a shoulder injury or whatever it may be. Going under a bar, stacked with weight can be very daunting. But the good thing, most gyms these days, they do have hammer strength machines or just basic machines that do give you that bench press facade by sitting down and having a machine to do it, so you can go really light as you can and as light as you want to go, whatever your comfort level is. Because ultimately, the thing about the gym, it's not about ego. Some people go in with their egos, but the thing is, do what you're able to do, because we all start somewhere. All right, the next one we're gonna go into is the incline bench press. It's basically very similar to what the bench press is, but of course you're on an incline. So instead of being completely flat, you're gonna be more of like an incline like this, working on that upper pectoral right here, pushing upwards. Not only will this even be working on not as much the middle as it will be the top, but also be working that front deltoid right there, creating that real gap between where that, kind of creating that chest plate area, but right underneath your shoulder blade to really create that full figure of, as I said, it's like a chest plate. Imagine Leonidas 300, that's basically where it's starting to make that form. And very similar to how the bench press is in form, you do want to try and keep your elbows where it's like this and you're pushing upwards, leaning back, but of course you are sticking above the middle area of your chest, because the fact that you're putting incline will automatically put that pressure on your upper pectoral, but as long as you keep that form correctly, that's where you will find your best results. When it comes down to the gym, the form is the most important thing. That's why there's mirrors everywhere. Mirrors are not there to check yourself out, even though sometimes you just got to. But they are there for form, because if you don't have form in the gym, you're not gonna get the results that you want, and you may lead to injury. There are even, machines developed for this to where if you don't want to put heavy weight, because incline typically is much harder than the bench press just due to the way it sits, the way that you're pressing. It's just a little bit more awkward for some people who are not as strong. So if you're still in the learning curve of going to the gym, you can jump on a machine and really just push that weight in a more safe environment to what your body is needing at that point in time. Okay, so the next one, I know you'd probably assume I'm going to say decline press. This guy's going to go with every single bench in the world. Well, I'm not. I've never been a fan of decline press, and I've seen a lot of people get injured because of it, and as well, I've just never gotten that much results out of it. But instead, I'm going to suggest that you go towards the concept of going towards dips, leaning forward dips. Because if you lean forward while doing your dips, you will definitely hit that lower pectoral much harder, because the thing is that yes, dips, tricep exercise, and ultimately you are going to be using triceps just a pinch more than you would be using your pectoral. Is if you look at a decline press, you're ultimately looking at an upside down weighted version of a dip to a degree, if you really think about it in the science of the angle that you're pushing at. With that being said, the leaning dip is something I fully believe in. I start every chest day with that. It's something I've always felt worked very well. It really works on that under curve that really just defines that lower pectoral, really gives the chest its shape, so to speak. As well, it's body weight. Not everyone can do body weight going into any exercise. I've been going to the gym for 10 years by now, and I have to admit, there are certain body weight things I'm just not that good at, but dips is one of those things where that took a while to even get there. Most gyms, I think actually I'm gonna go as far as say as all gyms, have the assisted dip machine, where basically you put your knees on a padded level where you can put weight on it, and say if you're 250 pounds and you put the weight at 100, it takes 100 pounds off you, so you're only going, you're only pushing 150 pounds. So to a degree, it is another machine that is great for beginners that you will be able to actually go to the gym and practice this while also making muscle gains, as well as being able to do the things that can potentially help you progress into a body weight motion. All right, now this one, this is a machine cable thing, so this is gonna be one exercise completely. This is the tried and true cable crossover. The cable crossover is basically when you get between two cables and you grab the handles and you lean forward. Now the thing about leaning forward, you have to understand something. You want your feet to not be side by side. You want one to be forward and one to be back. I just did that backwards, forward, back. Forward, back. You want one foot to be forward and one back, because the thing is, you're pushing weight like this from up high to push down, which will be working your lower to mid pectoral. Even though it'll be working all of them, it'll be third most work, second most work, first most work. Regardless, you're gonna be leaning forward. If you're putting your feet completely side by side, you're gonna have a lot of room to lean forward and backwards and not have a lot of stability. If you have one forward, I did it again. If you have one forward, one backward, you'll have a lot more stability leaning forward to adjust to where you can really focus on your chest and not so much if you're gonna fly backwards or fall forward. But this is an incredible one because, as I said, it works the entire chest, least amount the top and most amount the bottom, but the middle still gets worked, which again creates the most mass in the chest compared to the others. This is an incredible exercise, and also, even though you can never strictly target your middle chest, that's just borderline impossible to work on that strict line without just doing a bunch of variations of various lifts. This is a great way that when you do the whole exercise and you pull forward, if you give that a nice tight squeeze, that will promote blood circulation and potentially help, not do, but help create that natural striation. And going on to our next exercise, it's actually another cable crossover, but this time it's one of my personal favorites that I will actually say I probably like a little bit better than the regular cable crossover. That is the low cable crossover. So instead of reaching up high, you're reaching down low and you're scooping up. I call them low cable scoops because I feel like I'm scooping, but I don't make the definitions here. Now this, just like the other cable crossover, this targets the entire chest muscles once again, but it's reversed, so that your lower chest muscles are not going to be worked as hard, but your middle, and I actually feel this a lot in the very top upper half of my chest. That is where the muscle is stressed the most, because you're lifting upwards, it's putting a lot of strain on this upper pectoral and also your front deltoid, and that creates that really nice definition that you want between your chest and your shoulders. And once again, you want to be able to have good footing on this, because again, you're leaning forward in some fashion with weights that can push you forward or back depending on how heavy you're going. So it could be potentially dangerous if you don't have your footing with one front, one back. So just keep that in mind in order to be safe, because again, safety is the most important thing in the gym. It's not about your ego, it's not about how much you can lift because you're a gym bro and you gotta lift heavy, yeah. No, you need to make sure you're safe and make sure that you do have a good foundation for your muscles to grow on. All right, and lastly, we have the chest flies. Now this one does have a machine, but predominantly I would actually go as far as to suggest using dumbbells, because dumbbells you can have any from 75 pounds heavy to 5 pounds, 2.5 pounds heavy. So I feel like this is a good place to start, but if this just does not float your boat, you can use the machine. It's all good. But the thing is with chest flies is that when you lean back on a flat bench press, just like you would with a bench, you get one of those bench presses, you get dumbbells and you lean back and you just literally like a fly. You put your arms back, you get that full stretch in your chest, which is fantastic. Because whenever you're working your muscles, they become very tight. The blood is flowing, they're constricting because ultimately you're injuring your muscles in order to grow. So whenever you stretch them, it kind of releases all that, acid, it just releases this muscle growth hormone to get that stretch. And it's just a principle. You gotta stretch your muscles, especially if you're gonna hurt them that much. That's why you see athletes typically, or at least athletes who know it's good for them for the most part, stretch their muscles before and they stretch their muscles after everything, because they know if they get tight and you go to sleep, that's typically why you're sore. More sore than typical the next morning is because you didn't stretch and you're having to stretch them fresh. And this does target the entire chest. You're stretching the entire chest. That's one thing I will say I think is fantastic about this, is that you are stretching the entire chest, especially after you've completely brutalized them throughout the rest of your workout. So I don't know how to express it. This is a great muscle building tactic to use because you're stretching your muscle, but you're also working them by doing something, a natural motion that's weighted. But again, I would suggest doing dumbbells because you can go just as, go as light as you want as you can in a machine. But again, whatever floats your boat, you do you. And lastly, this is not even a exercise. We're actually done with that list. This is actually something I just suggest and something that I do personally after each and every chest workout, especially if my chest feels tight, if I just feel sore or I feel like I will be sore. I go over to the pull-up bar or monkey bars or whatever the gym has, whatever your gym has. I know they have a pull-up bar. Go to it, jump up if you have to jump, or just grab it and lift your feet up off the ground to where you have you're hanging like this, and tuck your chin in, because if you do that, your chest, which is like a block right here, if you lean forward, if you hold on a bar, it becomes a different shape. I don't know how to describe it. You can probably use your imagination, but stretches it. Very similar to how when you stretch it, your chest this way in a fly, it's being stretched outward, horizontally, so to speak. But if you stretch and tuck your chin in, you will be stretching your muscles vertically, giving it a whole new stretch, but that in a certain way can ensure that you have stretched your pectorals completely and that they have been stretched to the point to where they have room to grow, but they also have been conditioned to be stretched, to be able to, I don't know how to put it. Again, this is a channel for non-professional opinions. I just know what's worked for me and has worked for others, and I don't know my definitions. Like, someone who has gone to school for physical training or anything like that. But stretching has always been good for athletes. You know that. Even in a high school gym, they tell you to stretch. Actually, maybe in middle school, they start telling you that. But stretch at the end of every workout if you don't do it in the beginning. If you do it in the beginning, don't forget to do it at the end. But stretching to me is probably one of the most important things that you need to do at the end of every workout segment that you do, no matter what body weight, your body group you're doing. All right, well, that's it. That is, in my opinion, the best chest exercises that you can do at the gym, at anywhere if you're doing the push-up, honorable mention, but at the gym specifically, and what I have found for me to be the most beneficial, the most successful in terms of building my chest, building other people's chest. To me, it's just the best thing, the best option you could do, most universal. So with that being said, if you like what you saw here today, make sure you hit that subscribe button down low, make sure you give it a like, and if you think this could help other people, make sure to share this video and give me a shout out. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.